We know that the left are absolutely disgusting. If you caught my live stream last night, if not, watch the recap. I covered how Sean Curran, President Trump's new director of Secret Service, made DJ, a 13-year-old child brain cancer survivor, who they gave him 5 months to live, and 6-7 years later, he's still alive. How the Democrats are so sick and partisan, they didn't even stand for this young man. Okay? But it gets even worse. Oh, and by the way, very, very touching moment yesterday when DJ gave Sean Curran a hug after he made him an honorary Secret Service agent because DJ wanted to be in law enforcement. Now, this is absolutely disgusting. Get your barf bags ready. Nicole Wallace over at MSDNC covered the DJ part of the, let's call it State of the Union address last night from President Trump. And you would not believe the depths, how low she went in her commentary. Check this out.
But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ. And I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer.
Even though she's an obvious sociopath, she tries to be an empath. Go, I allowed myself to feel something over a child that wants to be in law enforcement. Okay, everything she said up to here is, even though she's a robot, is an attempt to sound human and is palatable. She didn't say anything wrong here. But she didn't say that because that's how she felt about DJ. She said that as a segue to what she said next.
But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people. But I think this was a lesson in...
That's right. Still pushing the narrative of an insurrection on the 6th day of 2021, and used a boy who is fighting childhood brain cancer as a vehicle for her hate, wishing that he does not have to unalive himself because of someone like Donald Trump that pardons protesters that were victims of a weaponized government going after people who simply were practicing their First Amendment right to protest and question certain official reports. Absolutely disgusting, Nicole Wallace. You truly are a soulless mockingbird media muppet without a shred of humanity or decency. Welcome to the show. I am James, the original BCP. Last night, President Trump, in his address, talked about this very huge event as we seek justice for the FUBAR failure of the Afghanistan withdrawal under President Biden. The top terrorist responsible for the tragic Abbey Gate bombing, an attack we know that took 13 lives of brave U.S. service members, has been apprehended and is now in FBI custody. And this, he announced that Pakistan helped with this, but he is in FBI custody here on American soil. We know this thanks to Kash Patel, director of the FBI, tweeting out this photo, who then tweeted this out after President Trump announced it during his speech. Breaking, as President Trump just announced, I can report that tonight the FBI, DOJ, and CIA have extradited one of the terrorists responsible for the murder of the 13 American soldiers at Abbey Gate during the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, one step closer to justice for these American heroes and their families. Thank you to our incredible partners and brave FBI personnel who made this happen. You represented your country brilliantly. Then he tweeted the picture out with this. That time you delivered the sword of justice for the American people. Thank you for your incredible leadership, AG Pam Bondi and John Ratcliffe. So proud of the men and women of the FBI, DOJ, and CIA. Justice for Abbey Gate terrorist Jafar officially in U.S. custody. That was in the wee hours of this morning when he tweeted this picture out. Since we're talking about justice and since we're talking about tweets, this one's very interesting. For me, kind of out of left field. But we have Ben Shapiro pushing for President Trump to take action in the case of Derek Chauvin and George Floyd. Ben Shapiro makes his case in this segment that he did, and Elon Musk also said, something to think about. Well, what exactly is Ben Shapiro saying here? Well, he's saying that pardonderek.com, pardon Derek Chauvin. Let's look at the argument that he makes. The Daily Host Wire and conservative commentator Ben Shapiro has launched a campaign urging President Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin. Footage of Chauvin detaining fentanyl-addicted George Floyd, who later died of fentanyl overdose, triggered the Black Lives Matter movement and months of violence and social disorder. Chauvin was convicted in both state and federal courts of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter related to Floyd's death. His state and federal prisons are sentences. He's serving them because they run concurrently. However, Floyd's autopsy report and other compelling evidence indicates that Chauvin was not responsible for Floyd's death and was wrongly convicted by a kangaroo court. Reminder that the autopsy showed no life-threatening injuries identified. Just as fact. That's just what came out of the autopsy report. So yesterday afternoon, Shapiro, obviously one of the most most popular and successful conservative podcasters in the world, did launch this website, pardonderek.com, where he says, we write to urge you to immediately issue a pardon for Officer Derek Chauvin. This is directed to President Trump, who was unjustly convicted and is currently serving a 22.5-year sentence for the murder of George Floyd and associated federal charges. As you know, this man was the inciting event for the BLM riots that caused $2 billion in property damages in cities across the United States and set America's race relations on their worst footing in recent memory. Yet the evidence demonstrates that Derek Chauvin did not murder George Floyd. He was high in fentanyl. He has significant pre-existing heart condition. He was saying he could not breathe before he was even out of the car. Derek Chauvin, for large segments of the widely circulated video of the encounter, had his knee on George Floyd's shoulder or back, not on his neck. This was confirmed by the autopsy, which showed no damage to George Floyd's trachea. There was no accusation at trial that Derek Chauvin targeted George Floyd for his race. Perhaps more significantly, there was massive overt pressure on the jury to return a guilty verdict regardless of the evidence of any semblance of impartial deliberation. This pressure took the form of threats, coercion, and intimidation. The mayor of Minneapolis prejudged the outcome of the trial and immediately issued a large settlement to the Floyd family. Then President Biden, Congressman Maxine Waters, and others prejudged the outcome of the trial and took to national media to create pressure on the jury to go along with their preferred narrative. Under these circumstances, there was no opportunity for blind justice to work, and a man is now rotting in prison because of it. Make no mistakes, the Derek Chauvin conviction represents the defining achievement of the woke movement in American politics, and the country cannot turn the page on that dark, divisive, and racist era without righting this terrible wrong. What are your thoughts? Put it down below. Also, just for those asking, should President Trump pardon Chauvin? His federal sentence will be wiped, but obviously he still has the state sentence. But in this case, he wouldn't have to serve the 22.5 years because under Minnesota law, he would be eligible for parole after serving 2/3 of his sentence. What are your thoughts? Do you think President Trump should get involved in this? Definitely was a hot topic if he gets involved. Once again, it's about justice, blind justice. What are your thoughts? Put it down below. Let me use that to segue into another topic having to do with the courts, and that is that the inaction by the Supreme Court is emboldening the left. And this is what I mean. Because of their failure to intervene, fired Biden holdover Hampton Dellinger is now fighting to reinstate 5,000 plus probationary workers fired by the administration. So, as we know, Trump and his administration recently fired thousands of probationary workers at the Department of Agriculture. President Trump also fired Hampton Dellinger, special counsel of the Office of Special Counsel. And after back and forth in the courts, corrupt Obama Judge Amy Berman Jackson ruled in favor of Hampton Dellinger over the weekend and entered a judgment declaring his firing illegal. And we just got reports that Hampton Dellinger is now seeking to block Trump from firing thousands of probationary workers. Now, President Trump had filed an emergency appeal with the Supreme Court in response to Judge Jackson's ruling on Hampton Dellinger. There has been no response, no action from the Supreme Court. So meanwhile, Hampton Dellinger has been causing problems for the Trump administration and has reinstated several fired probationary employees. So the resistance, if you will, continues. And part of that is because the Supreme Court is not acting, at least not yet. Speaking of not yet, but maybe later today, we have this from Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who last night was on television, and he said that a deal with Canada and Mexico may be a permanent deal with Canada and Mexico may be announced today in regards to a rollback or a change or a different agreement than what President Trump announced last night in his speech, the State of the Union address. I know it's not really State of the Union, but it's kind of hard not to call it that, right? So the tariffs went into effect yesterday at midnight, and during a press conference, Trudeau called President Trump, said this is a very dumb thing to do, and he actually called President Trump Donald. He didn't call him President Trump. But then we have this strange thing by Lutnick. He was on Fox Business yesterday, and he said both the Mexicans and the Canadians were on the phone with me all day trying to show that they'll do better, and the president's listening because, he's a very fair and very reasonable guy. So I think he's going to work something out with them. He said it's not going to be something temporary, and it may be announced today. So let's see if that happens. One thing that's not going to happen is Chucky Schumer having to be under investigation for inciting violence against two Supreme Court justices, something that Ed Martin wanted to have happen. Let me give you the details on this. The Justice Department reportedly rebuffed acting D.C. U.S. Attorney Ed Martin's plan to impanel a grand jury to probe Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer's threat to conservative court justices. Last month, Ed Martin launched an investigation into threats against Doge workers and revealed Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer as the target. He had previously announced his office would be charging and arresting individuals who threatened Elon Musk's Doge team. Quote, our initial review of the evidence presented to us indicates that certain individuals or groups have committed acts that appear to violate the law in targeting Doge employees. So late last month, Ed Martin and said his investigation was launched after he spoke to Doge workers about the ongoing threats. Now, while that's going on yesterday, right before President Trump went on TV, or we started reporting on that and the preparations going into that, it was reported by the New York Times that the Justice Department actually has rebuffed Ed Martin's plans to seek a grand jury to investigate Chucky Schumer. The 5-year limit to prosecute Schumer for his threatening remarks expired yesterday. So, Chucky Schumer is going to get away with this infamous statement.
And they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
A sitting member of the Senate can openly and boldly, with a crowd supporting him, threatened 2 U.S. Supreme Court justices, yet a whole bunch of protesters who were tricked into walking into the Capitol have spent years in prison and had their rights taken away. Many never even went to trial. And then when they are pardoned by President Trump, Nicole Wallace goes on TV hoping that a 13-year-old with 6 years recovering and fighting brain cancer doesn't have to unalive himself because of that. What a wacky world. What a sick world. What a sick head you must have if you are a leftist like Chucky Schumer or Nicole Wallace. And now a word from Kristi Noel, DHS Secretary, to the criminals out there.
We're going after MS-13 gang members, 18th Street gang members this morning. These guys are rock stars, making our streets safe.
In this tweet yesterday, Secretary Noem said, "We will not be deterred by leaks. If you come to this country and break our laws, we will hunt you down." Successful enforcement operation this morning, getting MS-13 members, 18th Street gang members, and perpetrators of sexual crimes off our streets. So that's DHS Secretary Kristi Noem once again being out in front during these morning raids that targeted illegal alien gang members as part of a 2-day coordinated action in the suburbs of D.C. Now, details of the raid were actually leaked by Vanity Fair congressional reporter Pablo Manriquez. ICE raids are planned for Monday and Tuesday in Northern Virginia. Multiple sources who tell us ICE has obtained between 75 and 100 arrest warrants. Judicial warrants means ICE can go into your home, so plan accordingly. Remember that state police have been deputized to help ICE. Highways, etc. are unsafe. And that is what DHS Secretary Noem was referring to when she said that leaks would not deter us. Okay, one person that has not been deterred and continues to fight is attorney Ty Clevenger, and we now have this update regarding Seth Rich. The corrupt FBI has once again refused to release crucial records related to the 2016 murder of Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich. Attorney Ty Clevenger, who has been battling for years to obtain these documents, reported that the FBI is stonewalling yet again, refusing to comply with his Freedom of Information Act request. If you are not aware of who Seth Rich is, he was murdered in D.C. in the summer of 2016, shortly before WikiLeaks released the infamous Clinton emails. This story, when I covered it in 2016, my video was taken down by a certain platform that you may or may not be watching right now. And it was in regards to WikiLeaks leader and founder, Julian Assange, pretty much in letting the world know that he actually was the leaker who gave WikiLeaks the emails, the Podesta and DNC emails that let us know and proved what many of us knew was going on behind the scenes, and is credited with helping President Trump win the election of 2016 as Clinton and the DNC was exposed. He was murdered, and what they reported was a botched robbery, even though they didn't rob anything. If you've never gone down that rabbit hole, this is probably a rabbit hole I probably should be revisiting on my other show, bcpextras.com or therealbcp.com. I may do that. But here is the update. On Monday, Clevenger took to X to reveal that the FBI will not be releasing Seth Rich-related records as expected on March 10th. Instead, the corrupt bureau plans to provide only a Vaughn index, a limited document listing withheld files and the reasons for their concealment. In February of last year, Clevenger demanded that the FBI hand over the Seth Rich documents they continue to conceal from the public. I've been covering Seth Rich since it happened in 2016, and it continues. It continues the stonewalling by the FBI. When we get into these details I'm going to cover for you right now, it's absolutely obvious that they are hiding the Seth Rich murder because, maybe it was people allegedly the people at the DNC, or allegedly Hillary Clinton, or allegedly from what we saw in those WikiLeaks emails, and then subsequent emails that perhaps they were trying to make an example of Seth Rich by unaliving him. For years, the agency denied even possessing Seth Rich's laptop until Clevenger's legal efforts forced the FBI to admit they had it all along. Kind of like we found out the truth about the Hunter Biden laptop. Yet the agency still refuses to disclose any metadata from Seth Rich's electronic devices. Even more damaging, Clevenger has already uncovered proof that the FBI improperly withheld pages from the CrowdStrike report related to the alleged 2016 DNC hack. The fact that the FBI continues to suppress these documents suggests there's more to the story than they are willing to admit. And there were several tweets from Ty Clevenger on this, but I want to zero in on the last one. Again, the FBI is not going to release what they need to, only a Vaughn index, which gives a brief description of what they are withholding and why. Why would they withhold this unless, of course, they're trying to hide his murder that was petitioned and asked for by high-ups in the DNC. And then this is what I wanted. This probably won't play well. More importantly, Kash Patel and AG Pam Bondi will learn about this, and I suspect some heads will roll. That's long overdue because the FOIA office at FBI is systematically corrupt. The bureaucrats can run, but they can't hide. So let's add this to the list of cases of which Pam Bondi and Kash Patel need to get on. And let's see if we can overcome the fake news of Seth Rich, and if the truth can come out, and more importantly, because the truth has come out, that we can see justice for Seth Rich. All right, fam, thanks for joining me early this morning. This is The Report. I'm taking a personal day off to be with my family, with my daughter who just got back from her 18-month mission, with Junior, who used to report on this program, and then my wife, my beautiful wife, we'll be celebrating our 28th anniversary in a few days. And then the two little boys of which we have emergency custody of, we are going to an amusement park for the day. If there's any breaking news, I may do a live stream later in the evening, but it's going to be raining today, and that may prove to be difficult. But if I do a live stream, I always laugh when I say that. Make sure you hit the notification bell and subscribe to this channel. I love and appreciate you all. I will be back.